We're joined for a few minutes by Coach Mack Brown, and of course, talking Patriots now, but also talking North Carolina football and Drake Maye. The excitement certainly was huge. And Coach, thanks for joining us. I was out in Detroit for that draft pick, and I found this kid to have a boundless amount of energy to begin with. Tell me about the human being in Drake Maye that Patriots fans are going to get to watch play quarterback for the Patriots.
Dan, there's never been a better person. Number one, he's a tremendous student. He's got a wonderful family. He's got so much integrity. He's been dating the same girl since the seventh grade. So it's a little bit different and unique. He is the younger of four boys. So he's got three older brothers. Two of them have won national championships, one in baseball at Florida and one in basketball here at North Carolina. So he's got that obsession to get the ring. He is really competitive. He'll give you. He's very polite. He'll give you the shucks and that was nice and thank you all so much. And then he'll go try to beat you down. So he's whether it's ping pong or pickleball, he's going to fight to win. So he is a tremendous competitor. But I think Dan, his upside is so good on the football field. When he walks into the room, he's got that it factor that everybody stops and turns to see when he comes in. And then everybody wants to meet him. Everybody wants to be around him and touch him and be part of his life. And he's the same way in the locker room. He with NIL, it's all new for all of us. We're all trying to figure out how to manage it in the locker room. And he would never take a deal, an opportunity with an NIL company without making the other players be involved. So if somebody came in and said, I want you to do an advertisement for us and give you this much money, he said, no, I got to have my offensive line involved with me, and I want them to get part of this money. So that's just who he is. He competes, but team is first, and it's not about him. The fans will love him. They'll love his reaction. He's really, really hard on himself. That's one thing. I'm hard on myself. All of us are that are at a high level. I think that I'm sure there's days you walk out of the show and say, gosh, I should have done this and should have done that. And this wasn't as good. And that's the way he is. But he's improving in that area because we've said you got to let that one go and move on. But if he throws 3 touchdowns and there's a tip ball that's intercepted, he's going to beat himself up for the tip ball because that's who he is. He wants perfection.
Well, the interesting part, a lot of the things that you said, one of the things is you and I do this and we get older, but stay younger and mentally, is one of the things that strikes me a lot of times is when you see certain athletes, they have this kind of glow about them. And that's what I kind of got from a quick, meeting with Drake, but also just that baby face. He looks like he's got some growing to do over the course of the next several years. Like he's not done, even though he's what, 6'4" and 235 pounds.
Yeah, I agree completely, Dan. If you think about some of the quarterbacks in the draft that played 5 or 6 years, he's played 2. So, I mean, he is just a puppy, and he's got so much growth out there personally and physically that I think the upside for him is just like a superstar. I think he's a guy that I said it, I mean it. It's not to put pressure, but he's a guy that can win a Super Bowl for a team because he has everything. He's got the height, the length, the athletic ability, the accurate throws. But he's arm strength. But he's also a game manager. He's really smart, and he's going to make really good decisions, and he's fun to watch because the fans will watch him compete so hard. They pull for him, and I think that's key too. He was National Player of the Year as a freshman. His name will be in the stadium forever as a National Player of the Year for the University of North Carolina. And if we had been better on defense, we would have been a top 10 team with a chance to be in the playoffs and win a national championship.
Let's talk about his acumen. I found it interesting. Devin McCourty was saying the other day that when Josh Allen first came into the league with Buffalo, he had a hard time adapting to the game because it's so complicated on the NFL level that Bill Belichick would tell Devin and the team, just leave the check down alone. Just let him be because Josh he's going to run before he goes to find that check down. Tell me about how do you think he'll develop mentally to the NFL game?
Dan, when we lost a coordinator 2 years ago, so I just brought Drake in and said, and everybody's trying to buy him off our campus, and he wanted to stay, and he's not that kind either. He wasn't going to do that for money. He was going to stay here because that's what he committed to. I said, what do you want? What do you need? And he said, I want somebody to work on my footwork. I want somebody to help me do a better job in the pocket because sometimes I fall into the rush. I need to make sure I stay away with my footwork in the pocket. I want somebody to help me with my release. So he's very driven, but he's also very honest about himself. And he's a guy who looks at things he thinks he can do better and wants to do that. So we hired Chip Lindsey, who has two quarterbacks in the NFL and had been a coordinator with Todd Monken at um, Southern Miss, and he'd been a coordinator at Arizona State and Auburn in Central Florida, and he's a great teacher. And then we hired Clyde Christensen, who coached Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Jameis Winston and Andrew Luck. So he's one of the best teachers that's ever been around. And then we hired Freddie Kitchens, who had two #1 draft choices at quarterback, 11-year offensive coordinator in the NFL, and head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He coached Baker Mayfield and Jason Palmer. So he's had a lot of people with knowledge around him in the last year. So he gets it, and he knows what to do. And all of those coaches were really hard on him and very direct with him. So he's definitely coachable, and he's usually going to be harder on himself than other people.
Interesting too. You mentioned the family. That's what struck me is you've been at this a while, as we mentioned. Have you seen really as much talent in a family? A lot of times you'll say, "Oh, it's the son of this player or that player." And yes, his dad was a quarterback at UNC, but to have two brothers both win national championships, one, as you said, at Carolina, one at Florida in a different sport, that kind of says a lot about what kind of kids they are, right? And that competitive spirit, even just growing up as boys together.
Dan, it does. And Amy, the mother, they say is the best athlete. She was a scholarship athlete here at North Carolina. And Bo, his other younger brother, his older brother, but the youngest of the three ahead of him, Bo played on the Carolina basketball team till his knees gave out. So, and Mark May was a quarterback here that led the ACC in passing and hurt his shoulder, or he would have been an NFL player. And he actually coached for me as a graduate assistant my first year here. It's a wonderful family. Uh, they will give him strength. They'll be at every game. They're not involved. Mark and Amy didn't come and see me one time to say he was fighting for the job 2 years ago. Mark and Amy never ever said, "What's the deal, man? He could have gone to Alabama and he's here and he's not starting." They are people that are team people. They want the team to win, and they want their son to earn the right to play. So other reporters in the Boston area have said, "Do you think he's ready to come in and start?" I said, "That's coach's decision. I don't know who they've got. I don't know who's on the team. I don't know what the dynamics are. So, but I know that he will be a great player at some point."
Do you think it'll take him long to get up to speed? You mentioned how coachable he is.
I think because he's been around all these NFL coaches, I don't think so. He and Sam Howell would sit and watch NFL video for hours and try to stay ahead of the game. And we were running last year an offense that is an NFL offense. So I think he'll be ready to go. I coached Troy Aikman, and he had trouble early for the Cowboys, but won a Super Bowl. I'm a great friend of Peyton Manning's. He had trouble early as a rookie, but won a Super Bowl. So Patriot fans, regardless of what happens in the early years, this guy is a guy that can take you back to a Super Bowl where you all are used to and what you do and what you expect. Just support him. You can't do better. He's the best. I'm so excited for him and the city of Austin, who's so passionate about their teams, because it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, and finally, let's end it with Coach. I've been following your career for a long, long time, and just your thoughts on, you mentioned some of the players that you've had and some of the people you've been around. How much fun is it when you get a guy like Drake Maye, and as a program and as a head coach, you see a guy get taken 3rd overall, and if he had maybe stayed in school, he maybe would have been 1st overall next year. So how cool is that for you still in doing what you do?
Well, it's really cool, Dan. When Drake committed to Alabama, and we had just gotten here, and we were bad. We'd won 2 games the previous year and 3 the year before, and nobody was in the stands. And so he called me. I was actually playing golf in the late spring and early summer, and he said, I thought he was calling to commit to me because of Mark and the family and everybody in Carolina. And he called and said, "Hey, Coach, hey, how you doing? You playing a little golf?" I said, "Yeah, I'm up in the mountains. How are you, bud?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to Alabama." And I said, "What?" You can't do that. A May can't go to Alabama. And I said, here's what I got. As long as I'm at North Carolina, you got a scholarship. Watch us during the season. We're going to get better. And Sam's going to light it up, and we're going to be good. So don't give up on us. And then he came back and said, you're right. This is what I want to do. And then when all the people came after him again and started offering him unbelievable type money, he didn't even blink. He walked in and said, Coach, I'm not in this to money. I'm staying. Don't worry about all the rumors. That's not me. That's not what I'm doing. So to see him, even after 2 years here, to be a National Player of the Year, to be considered for the Heisman, to be a first-round draft choice, I am so proud of him. And Dan, at this age, I'm coaching for the players. I've got enough wins and I've got enough money. I love seeing these players go from where they are to where they want to get. And he lived his goal to come here and win a lot of games. He's living his dream now, and his dream will be to win a Super Bowl, because those brothers have 2 rings on their hand. They throw it in his face every day. So he's got a chip on his shoulder. So when he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to walk around, just hold that thing out so those brothers can see it.
Coach, I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day, and we're looking forward to watching Drake Maye all the way through as a rookie come in here and see what happens. It's going to be fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. I'm pumped too, and Patriot fans, hang in there with him and pick him up, man. You're so lucky. You don't even know how lucky you are yet. But there's great times ahead.